Hello, beautiful community. This week I'm turning some pens and I'm going to use 6 different finishes. And the wood I'm using is stabilised wood. It's she oak wood, and I got it from Ballarat from my dear brother and sister-in-law, Richard and Helen. And it's a beautiful wood. I've got some she oak from Loxley from my other brother, and it's got a darker reddish colour to it. The one from Ballarat is a lighter she oak, and it's got some beautiful grain structure to it, and of course it's been stabilised and turned to a cylinder. So there was a process to make the pens, and I certainly enjoyed doing it. It was a nice relaxing process, and I normally drill the holes in a pedestal drill, but lately I've been putting them in the lathe and drilling them, and I'm quite happy with the way they come out. The tube gets epoxied into the blank and then left to sit for a day. Then I start turning it, and I used a small carbine tool that I got from the local men's shed, and they've certainly done a great job with their tools. It's a beautiful tool and I enjoyed using it. So my idea was to try out the 6 different finishes, and the main reason I was doing this was because Paul and his lovely wife called over just before Christmas, and he dropped off a red gum bowl blank, which I'm doing, and also a red gum handle that he'd finished off with shellac. It's a beautiful handle, and I usually grab it and feel it every now and again. It's certainly done a great job. And he gave me some shellac to try, and I've never done it before, so I thought I'd try that and a couple of other different finishes and just see what they turned out like. But I must say I did use the finishes on stabilised wood, and I'm sure they would come up differently if we just used normal wood. The finishes that I used was the Gillies wax, and it's easy to apply, and it's certainly come up quite nice. I like the Gillies wax. It has a nice smooth finish. And then there's one of the pen blanks that had quite a few cracks in it, which I filled up with CA glue. That one I thought I'd finish it with layers of CA glue, and of course it does take a little while to do. Just waiting for the CA to dry. I don't use an accelerant. I've never had an accelerant. It does take a little while for it to dry, and I've never liked the CA glue finishes. It feels very plasticky, so I've never really done the CA glue that much. But I thought I'd try it on this one, and again it just come up fairly plasticky, so it looks a lovely pen, and I'm sure someone would like it, but it's not for me. Then I used an oil and wax that I've used on tables at different times, and it's a nice finish. You can certainly feel the wood on the table, so I thought I'd use it on the pen, and it came up okay. It was a flat finish, and it was a bit sticky at the end, but once I polished it, it came up quite nicely. I did like that one. Then the next one I buffed it with the buffing wheel, and I used 3 different types of grit, and that came up really nice. I liked that one. It was a nice shiny finish, and you could still feel the wood, so I liked that one. And the last 2 were ones that Paul brought over, and the mixture was 100% tung oil and a citrus solution, and that was quite nice. Paul had used it on a dance floor, and he said it was a fairly hard wearing finish, and this one came out quite nicely. I put 2 coats of this solution on the pen, and it dried fairly quickly, and it's nice shiny finish. I quite like that one as well. And the last one was the shellac, and I've never used the shellac before, so luckily I was given some instructions on it, which I refer to quite often, and I made up the solution of shellac and methylated spirits, and I had to shake it for quite a few days just to dissolve the shellac flakes. So after all that I applied, I reckon it was about 50 billion coats, but there's quite a few coats, and I wasn't all that happy with how it was finishing off, so I sanded it back to the wood and started again, and of course I gave it another 50 billion coats. So what's that, 100 billion coats? Yeah, it's quite a few. So I followed the instructions, and at the last coat I put on, I heated up the pen blank, and of course it did come up with a bit of a shine as the instructions said it should. So I might have to practice this one a bit more just to get it right. It took half a day just to try and to apply this one, and of course I like to get things done fairly quickly, so I prefer the ones that don't take as long. But I might try it on a normal wood and just see how it goes. But certainly the handle that Paul made was beautiful, so he's obviously got it worked out how to apply it, so I might have to get a few lessons on that. So it was quite an enjoyable exercise. So I made sure I had a whiteboard with all the information on it just to keep track of it all. And I liked all of the finishes except for the CA glue one, which made the wood feel fairly plasticky. I don't really like that finish, but the other finishes were all pretty good. So hopefully whoever gets the pens enjoys them. So it's quite a nice little project. I enjoyed turning the pens. I took my time doing it and doing the different finishes. So I've got a couple of different finishes that I could probably use now for the pens. They come up quite nice, and be interesting to see how they go over time, whether they wear differently or fade differently. So I'll keep an eye on those over the next little while. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. I'll see you next time. Cheerio.